Where do you think we're at in terms of the trade market? I know you did many, little updates within your notes column about the winter meetings, but where do you think we're at? Like, where are a few names that you think could actually, like, this really could happen, and then a few names that you're seeing circulating where you're like, don't count on it?
Yes. So I think the interesting thing is, like, all the GMs were telling me that there was more trade talks at this winter meetings than any winter meetings they could remember. Like, that's how involved these guys were, like all 30 teams. So yeah, there's a lot of talk going on between these GMs. I mean, I think that, I said I thought he'd get done during the winter meetings. Brendan Donovan of the Cardinals, the number one trade asset the Chaim Bloom has. Katie Wu reported, who has been on this show, does a great job. She's now the beat writer for The Athletic for the Dodgers. But she wrote that the Mariners and the Giants right now are the front runners for Donovan. There are a lot of teams in on Brendan Donovan. Obviously, this is a Gold Glove infielder, can play second, third, left. He gets on base at a 35% clip. And there's a really good fit with Seattle. The Mariners have the farm system. They have the pieces that Chaim Bloom needs. So I kind of am viewing that as maybe the next shoe to drop. But look, there are so many discussions out there about so many players, and it's all real. Like, it's all been confirmed. I mean, and the thing that I really found interesting more than anything else is teams literally are listening on everybody. Like, it's not like the olden days where they would just, say, yeah, we'll take offers or whatever. They're really listening on star players. Like, very few teams have any quote unquote untouchables at this point. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Now, obviously it's intermingled with the free agent class. So sometimes some of the free agents have to sign, or some of the players have to be traded for the other moves to make. But I think we're going to have a busy week before the Christmas holiday.
Okay, well, what are they waiting on, Jim? Like, they were all in the same room. They were all in the same, well, kind of sort of in the same hotel. Some of them had to walk down a long hallway to get, and they had to pass our show and say hi to Scott and I. But they're all in the same room in the same area. What are they waiting for to make these trades? To see if someone comes along that they hadn't talked to, maybe a 31st or a 32nd team, and say, hey, we got a better offer for you. What are they waiting for? Let's have these deals happen now.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just want to make sure you get the best deal you can. It's just like, sometimes, let's talk about the free agent market for a minute. Dylan Cease gets the 7 years, $210 million, and now Framber Valdez and Ranger Suarez find out they're not getting that deal. So then they look at the market and they see what they're being offered. And then, they kind of got to decide, am I willing to take the best offer that's on the market, or should I consider doing a shorter term deal with an opt out and go back in the market next year or the year after? What are my options? And then a lot of cases, it's the dominoes, right? It's like, once Michael King picks between the Red Sox, Orioles, and Yankees, then, if he picks the Orioles, then they're probably out on Valdez and Suarez. And so a lot of these players end up being connected, and whether it be trades or free agents, everybody has that whiteboard in their office where they've got their order of what they want to do, 1 to 12. And a lot of times I'm not going to go to number 2 unless I know I can't get number 1. So a lot of times they're just connected. So, it takes patience, and all of a sudden someone's going to wake up and they're going to want to pull the trigger. And whether that be a GM or a manager that gives you that extra year, or whether that's the team that's willing to throw in that last prospect to get a deal done, a lot of times it just takes that last minute movement. And I think you'll find that later in the week.
As this new CBA is coming up, do the players need to make sure there's some kind of trade deadline for the offseason so you're not hurting free agent players' values? Because you spend 6 years to become a free agent, and now teams are looking at the whiteboard and they're going, well, I can't get Dylan Cease, so I want Tarek Skubal, I want Sandy Alcantara, I want Edward Cabrera, and then I want Zach Allen, and then I want – so is that something that the players should do to increase free agents' values?
I mean, look, I don't think there's any doubt. And I got a big kick out of agents at the winter meetings that were throwing the idea of, hey, we should have a December 10th trade deadline. Yeah, sure. If I'm an agent or a player, I want a trade deadline, because if I can freeze the trade market from December 10th to March 10th, then only way teams can improve is to get out their checkbooks and bid on free agents. You want to get better? You had your chance to make trades. You didn't do it. Now you have to bid for us. And the bidding would go up. So of course you're going to want that. from the club side, as a former GM, I don't want that trade deadline. And if we're going to have a deadline, it's got to be a free agent and a trade deadline at the same time. You got to put the players in that same class. And obviously that's not going to fly. And now, since I'm wearing the broadcast hat with you, AJ, and Eric and Scott, since we're all wearing that hat, there's nothing wrong with this dragging on through January. January would be really boring if we got all the trades and free agents done in December in our jobs. So I'm okay. Let it keep going in our jobs. I'm fine with it. Let's have 2 or 3 a week.
All right, Jim, enough of the trades because they just always seem to take forever. There was a free agent signing that happened this past weekend that we discussed for a long time. Jorge Polanco to the Mets. Why do the Mets make this move, and where is he going to play, and what's his role going to be? Because they seem like they have a third baseman. They seem like they have a shortstop. They seem like they have a second baseman. Vientos is a player who they want to have DH or first base. So where does Polanco fit in on this team? I just don't understand what this move does to help them other than just muddy the waters for Carlos Mendoza.
It makes no sense to me. And what they said was primarily first base and DH. He has played exactly 1 inning of 1 game at first base in his major league career. That's right, 1 inning of 1 game. And then I heard David Stearns made a comment saying, well, he can easily go over there and play first. Really? Have you asked that to Bryce Harper or to William Contreras or anybody else? Do you not understand the defensive value at first base on how they save the third baseman, the shortstop, and the second baseman? But to make matters worse, why did you not make an offer to Pete Alonso? Supposedly because you weren't sure how he's going to age and you don't like him defensively at first base. Wait, what? But you like Polanco at first base, who's played 1 inning of 1 game over there? And by the way, Pete Alonso is elite at scooping and picks. He's elite at it. How many errors has he saved the third baseman, shortstop, and second baseman over the years in New York? Sure, he lets runs in. Sure, he has a lack of range. I get it. He also drives in 125. So if he lets in 15 or 20, he more than makes up for it. So now you're worried about age and decline. Do they realize that Polanco's going to be 33 this summer at the All-Star game? Do they realize he's going to be 34 the next year? Pete Alonso's 31. So you don't want to pay Alonso 31 to 35, but you're willing to pay Polanco 33 to 34 at $20 million per year? Are you kidding me? It makes zero sense. And look, I like Polanco. Don't get me wrong. He's a good player. His knees are healthy. I get it. But let's be realistic. You got rid of a 40 home run bat for a 20 home run bat. You got rid of 120 RBIs for 70 RBIs. That's what you did. Your offense just downgraded. And now with Juan Soto, why pitch to Juan Soto? You're paying him $765 million so opposing teams can walk him 150 times this year. You got rid of the lineup protector for Juan Soto because now you have Jorge Polanco as your DH. Head scratcher.
What did they do to this clubhouse? You've talked about production. What have they done to this clubhouse?
Eric, you nailed it. You know it. I went to Mets camp last year, and I came back, and on my MLB Network radio show, I said the Mets clubhouse is elite. I don't know if they have enough starting pitching to win, but the clubhouse is elite. And I mentioned 5 players. 5 players. I mentioned Brandon Nimmo, Pete Alonso, Diaz, Lindner, and Soto. Those 5 guys stood out. When I thought about good culture in the Mets clubhouse, it was those 5. Now, Nimmo, Alonso, Diaz are gone, and everything we're learning, and I do not have firsthand information, is that there was some kind of rift between Soto and Lindner. I'm not confirming it. All I'm saying is what baseball people have told me. Right or wrong, I don't know. But what in the world have you done to that culture? Now, granted, bringing in Brandon Simeon, he's a good makeup guy too, but he's 35 years old in decline. So, I'm just not sure I get what they're doing. They're getting older, and they're replacing an elite closer in Diaz with Devin Williams, who struggled the first half of the year last year. We're replacing Alonso with Polanco. I just don't. What we're doing is we're trying to win like we won in Milwaukee. And winning in Milwaukee works in a small market. This is a different job in New York. There's different pressures on players in New York. You guys both played. You totally understand what I'm talking about. And you're going to sit there and try to build a Milwaukee team in New York. I promise you, not going to work.
Okay, Jim, you answer my question. Is this David Stearns trying to be too cute? Is this David Stern's reaction, the Polanco signing? We lost Alonso, we lost Diaz. Let's make the Mets fans happy by signing somebody they've heard of because of the postseason, and he was pretty good and had a nice year, right? So is this David Stern's just trying what you just said? He's trying to do it the way Milwaukee way instead of just having the money and going out and getting the best players.
Yeah, and I've said this before. Being a GM in Milwaukee is different than being a GM in New York. Look, I got to work for the Yankees. I got to work for the Reds. I understand the difference in the markets. It's a totally different job. The job that Brian Cashman, David Stearns, and Andrew Friedman have now is completely different than running a smaller mid-market team. It only took Andrew Friedman, though, a year to figure that out. I don't think David Stearns has figured that out yet. He will, but you know what? You know why New York teams have superstars? You know why they pay the big money for superstars? Because superstars give you production predictability at a high rate. You want to go all young? You could pull it off in a small market. I did. You can do it. It can work. You want to try to do that in New York? No thanks. And look, I believe in Nolan McLean. I think he's the best starting pitcher they have. And I believe in Carson Benj. I think he's the answer in center field. I even think Jet Williams can be a good player. But if you think you're going to win in New York with young players alone, it's not going to happen. It's just not. And I'm sorry. So I don't get what they're doing. And look, they have time to pivot. David Stearns can shut me up tomorrow. Go to a podium and announce you've signed Kyle Tucker, Bo Bichette, and Michael King, and I will absolutely put my tail between the legs and tell everyone what a star I think he is, like I did when he ran the Milwaukee Brewers. But it's hard to like what he's doing right now in Queens. It's hard to like it or understand it.
Because they're a big market. And you mentioned the fact that the Dodgers have outclassed the big markets. Not even just the league. They've outspent the market. A team that's in the NL East with the Mets is the Phillies. A big market. A team that's not afraid to spend. With their recent Adolis García signing, obviously Nick Castellanos could be most likely on the way out. Do you see a move like, obviously they need catching, but do you see a move like the Phillies that could move them back into the Dodger conversation in the sense that we're pushing all in, say like an Alex Bregman, who was rumored to have visited Philadelphia?
I mean, I think Bregman's a difference maker. Look, in terms of the Dodgers, they're not in a large market. They're in a massive market, right? The Los Angeles Dodgers CBT tax this past year was more money than 16 teams' major league payrolls. Just the tax alone. They're in a whole different planet. They've got a better farm system than anybody else. They spend more money in analytics, technology, and scouting than anyone else. And they have one of the smartest executives running them in Andrew Friedman, who knows what he's doing and, believe it or not, doesn't overspend for talent. He really doesn't. He just has great resources, can do what he wants. And by the way, Ohtani's $700 million is already paid for. They're just printing money at a ridiculous level. So the Dodgers really are at a spot where I don't want to compare them to anybody else. And by the way, you know, the Brewers won more games in the regular season than they did. So they can still be beat. But I think in terms of the Phillies, do I think a Bregman or a Bichette signing to play third base is a difference maker for them? Yeah, sure, I do. If they can go get a left fielder, if they can go get Bellinger and Bregman, sure. I mean, look, they've got the starting pitching. They've got the reliever. They've got the manager. They've got the player leadership in Schwarber and Harper. You know, and you mentioned Adolis Garcia. Look, he's been in decline, but he's 32 years old, right? He's been in Texas a long time. He's still a good defender. He still has a good arm. He still has power. Now, the question that I have is, he's got Kevin Long now. Can Kevin Long get him back on track? Can Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper help him get back on track? He's only 32. He's a relatively smart guy, and he finally has an elite hitting coach. He finally has elite teammates that know how to help guys. You know, could he be a comeback player for $10 million next year? Maybe. I mean, it didn't look like it. It looks like he's in decline, but I kind of like the fit. I like the chance. And to your point, yeah, Nick Castellanos needs to be released. They need to move on for him. And yes, they'll be spending $30 million between Garcia and Castellanos this coming season.
All right, I got to go back to the Dodgers and what you said about the Dodgers. How much did you say they spent more money on the luxury tax than some teams' payroll? Or
16 teams' payroll. Their CBT tax this year is more money than 16 teams' major league payrolls. Yes.
Okay. Do you think the owners care because you know what they have, Jim? They have back-to-back World Series championship rings, and they have the money. So I always say that if you win a World Series, and God forbid you win 2 in a row, all that money goes out the window because you're making so much money off Shohei, so much money off Yamamoto, so much money off Mookie Betts, so much money off Freddie Freeman that they don't care. That's
Sure.
the thing that I don't know that owners understand is that if you actually win and you actually win a World Series, it makes it all worth it. I don't care what you have to spend. Now, it's easier said than done to win that World Series, but that money, I know that's an amazing stat we just threw out there. Dodgers fans, Dodgers owners, nobody associated with the Dodgers gives 2 craps about how much money they spent because they have 2 rings.
Yeah, well, they have the revenue to do it, though, too. They're making money. They're printing it. They've got
No,
their
they're
own
not. They're not
CD.
as making, Jim, didn't you hear Hal Steinbrenner the other day? They're not making as much as you think they're making,
The
okay?
Dodgers
It's
aren't,
all,
the Yankees aren't, the Mets aren't, but the Dodgers are. They,
Oh,
they
yeah.
absolutely are printing way more money than anybody else. The New York teams aren't even in the same ballpark, and they're being run by guys that really know what they're doing, and they care about humans and character and makeup, and they only bring in good people. That's what they do, and talent. And yes, they'll spend the highest paid players, but when they spend, they don't spend more than what the market is for these guys. Even the manager, Dave Roberts, yes, he's being paid a little more than Craig Counsell, not much more, enough to make him the highest paid, which he should be on his way to the Hall of Fame. But, I say this because I know Pirate fans, for example, they'll get upset and go, well, it's not fair. I mean, the bottom 15 markets have not won a World Series in a decade. Yeah, I get it. But I tell people as fans, you don't have to be a Pirate fan. You can retire as a Pirate fan or trade yourself to the Dodgers. If you want to see your team win, right now, the Dodgers have got the best chance to win a World Series again this year. So if you want to win, you as a fan, you can go to any team you want. You don't have to root for the team that's your home city. And you can see the Dodgers come play in your home city. They'll come into Pittsburgh and beat you. So, look, if it bothers you that much, just become a Dodger fan. It's fine.
Hey, JB, I want to go on the opposite end of the spectrum here with the conversation. So I've been going back and forth with some fans online, which is, always a good move, about the Pirates. Okay. We spoke about them during the winter meetings and how it was cute that they sent out an offer that was actually below what most did. And there's fans online like, hey, give them credit. They made an offer, might have been related to ownership or front office, something like that. Even Ken on our show was like, hey, that was real. That was something for them to show the market that they have some cash to spend. I think you're on the other side of this. I'm on the other side of this. So I'll let you cook, but then also get me to the finish line of what they're actually going to do and not just whisper in a free agent's ear and say, hey, we're 20 million under, but we're going to report that we sent this out. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, look, Scott, their offers to both Josh Naylor and Kyle Schwarber were under what they signed for. Now, keep in mind, if you're a small market team and you're trying to get a free agent, you are never going to get a free agent at the same price the contending team is going to get him for. If you're a player and you had a choice between signing back with the Phillies or signing with Pittsburgh, what is Kyle Schwarber going to do? Right? I mean, it's pretty easy what he's going to do. I'm going to go back to Philadelphia. I'm comfortable there. I've won there. We're a contending team. You're not. So how do you in a small market get a player? You offer more years and more money and by a lot. How did the Nationals get Jason Worth? They overpaid him, more years, more money, a ridiculous number. Jason Worth left Philadelphia to go to Washington, right? How in the world did the Tigers end up getting Magliardonius and Pudge Rodriguez? They overpaid for them back then. And by the way, both of those teams ended up going to the World Series. You have to have players, but in a small market, if you want Josh Naylor, you can't offer what Seattle's offering. You have to offer more. You want Kyle Schwarber, you should have offered 7 years, $210 million and overpay. Would it have ended well? No. But that's how you get on the map. And once you get one, once you get two, now all of a sudden you start to win and people will follow. The funny part about the Pirates is they have a starting rotation that can get them to be competitive in that division. They actually could be a contender if they can get offense. But if you want to do it, you got to make offers bigger than what the market is and not even close. All right, now what can they do? Because that's much more constructive. Ryan O'Hearn, Eugenio Suarez. 2 examples. 2 bats, add some offense, 50 home runs to the lineup. Try to win, with your pitching and defense. Let Connor Griffin make this team on opening day. Let him be in the run for Rookie of the Year, and let him light everything up. But yeah, look, if you're not going to get the big boys, which it's tough to do, right? It's tough to get the top free agents to go to Pittsburgh right now. You're not good enough. You're just not. But that being said, that next tier or the tier after that, you could certainly improve the offense of this team. We know they can pitch. So let's get some bats. I think O'Hearn and Suarez are two realistic guys they could get in free agency right now, which would improve their chances of contending.